The Indian poet Kabir once wrote, "Wherever you are is an entry point." How can this theme engage us in investing in local sustainable food systems? How can it help us bring balance and consciousness to our world? How can it help us create resilient communities that honor diversity, openness, and the interconnectedness of all living things? For me, these seeds of engagement likely began in my late 20s when I was teaching at a farm school in Vermont. They were carefully tended for several decades while I planted other seeds in my life as well. And then, in the fall of 2009, when I was in my mid-60s, I attended the first ever Slow Money National Gathering in Santa Fe. The event was inspired by Woody Tash's visionary book, and over 600 of us attended, representing a wide array of ages, backgrounds, and regions of the US and beyond. We were there to strategize about building local economies based on the health of our soil, our food, and our communities. We were well aware of the influences of corporate power and fast money. I loved being part of a wider circle of people giving attention to these issues, and I felt the infectious spirit of people ready to take these ideas and actions forward into the world for positive change. As stimulating as that gathering was, life got even more juicy when I got back to Maine and had time to digest it all. I had the astounding realization that so many threads of my life in the past 4 decades were woven into the fabric of that event. From my early teaching years in Harlem and Vermont, to becoming an organic farmer in Maine for over 20 years, in marriage and parenting, through many conversations with friends and family about money and social change, and in many leadership roles that I played with nonprofits, focused on music, Waldorf education, social justice, philanthropy, agriculture, and more. It became clear that it was time for my garden to expand. I wanted to do something with greater community impact. I wondered if it was possible to take so many of these nonlinear, richly textured aspects of my life and bring them to a larger than ever collaborative endeavor, one that would be inclusive and action-oriented, and one where anyone and everyone who wanted to build healthy food systems could do so, with or without financial privilege. But I needed an entry point. Later that fall, I went to a food conference in Western Maine, and I was struck by the visual image of 2 tables set up in front of the room for presenters. Funders on one side, farmers on the other. I noticed that not everyone spoke as presenters, and when they did, they spoke straight ahead to the audience. They weren't interacting with each other. This was a crystallizing moment for me. My active mind and my adventurous spirit were engaged in new ways. I confirmed that I wanted to bring people together from different sectors of Maine related to food systems and trust that they would create what they needed. I wanted to give them more time to talk to each other. I didn't want to complicate matters by creating yet another nonprofit. And even though I knew what a network form was, I had no intentions about that either. I simply imagined that we could bring people together, and collectively, we could identify the pieces that were there, the pieces that were missing, and move things around effectively. And what better place than Maine to explore possibilities? This represented a huge growing edge for me, somewhat like being here today. But I felt ready. I felt confident that my eclectic life interests and experiences had prepared me well for this time. And it actually started to seem like fun to mix it all up and not be attached to formal structure, agenda, or outcome. So, in the spring of 2010, after more conversations and more contemplation, I took a leap and birthed Slow Money Maine. Our network now has over 400 participants and a fabulous steering committee. We have formed countless personal and professional relationships. And we have catalyzed the flow of over $2.8 million to Maine's agricultural sector. And we've only just begun. We've been living with myths and risks about our food, our health, our environment, and our money for a long time. The risks of choosing complacency, denial, or passivity seem far greater than the creative explorations that we are currently involved in. Those of us working together want to contribute to a present and a future that is expansive and nurturing. Many of us are ready to step out of systems and structures that are ineffective or outdated. Several people coming in to join us want to make financial investments that are based on meaningful relationships, having to do with people and place. Our choices of engagement bring us to moments that are thoughtful, caring, and individualized to suit. I'll give you an example. A parent in our group went to visit his son at camp in the Belgrade Lakes region last summer. He was distressed about the quality of food being served, and when he attended one of our gatherings this winter, he asked me if I could help him improve on that. I directed him to several people that I thought could help him move his project along. Within 2 weeks, he had gathered the camp owners, the camp staff, an organic farmer in the region, and a local truck distribution company. He recently announced that over 600 campers will benefit from a daily organically grown salad bar this summer. And they will have other weekly meal specials with local products as well. The camp is also interested in learning how to compost its kitchen wastes and its lawn trimmings, and plans are underway to make that happen. This same parent is going further and plans to develop a directory for the Maine Camping Association about locally sourced food. Early on, when we started this work, it became clear that the ag sector was considered far too risky to be considered by many conventional financial institutions. We clearly needed to address that. At the same time, given my work in philanthropy, I had the sense that individual donors and foundations could directly support for-profit businesses in a direct way, but I wasn't sure or convinced how to do that in a way that people would understand. And about the time I was pondering that, a corporate lawyer from New York City, who happens to be a native Mainer, contacted me, wanting to give back in some way. He offered his pro bono services, and together we created legal guidelines that offered a new model of partnership. This model is best exemplified by a grant that was made last summer by the Sewell Foundation to the Somerset Economic Development Corporation for $250,000. Those funds were then re-granted to 6 different businesses in Skowhegan, including a pasta maker, a grist mill, a multi-farm CSA, and an apple orchardist. These funds not only supported an emerging food hub, they contributed to a viable local economy and to an enhanced community in an area that is clearly underserved in this state. Here's a spin-off that's happened in Slow Money, Maine. About a year and a half ago, a young tofu producer came to one of our gatherings requesting financial help. He needed to buy an unusually large amount of soybeans from a local organic grower because the grower didn't have dry storage facilities for that crop. After his presentation, several people came up wanting to help. I saw this as a point of engagement, and I invited those interested to get together and explore next steps. They did so, and they created an investment club, and they named it No Small Potatoes. Since that time, they have made 11 loans to local producers and farmers in 8 counties, totaling $52,000. The model is now being replicated elsewhere in Maine and in several states throughout the country. I am excited about what's going on in this movement. I love who's showing up and who's sniffing in our direction. I am dazzled by the skills and energies of co-creators, and I feel really lucky to be in the thick of it all. While some of you may be planting seeds in your gardens at this time, I want to give you a hint of other seeds that have been chosen by people in this movement. Many more people are becoming members of CSAs and CSFs, farm memberships and fishery memberships, which increase the economic and community lives in the state. A local land trust in Liberty chose to take some of its endowment funds that were earning little or no interest in a CD and moved it into a mortgage loan for Mothgood to be able to purchase more land for its educational programs. Double value coupons are available at a number of different farmers markets for recipients of food stamps through the SNAP program. Many of these venues are in place, and many more are being planned for this season and next. Mentors. We've come to know many people coming in with business skills, and they've chosen to mentor some of the startup companies in the food systems in our state. They've actually jumped into management roles to better understand needs and improve functioning. All of this feels jazzy to me. It feels hopeful. We can all be part of a cultural transformation that's already underway. We can all contribute to thriving local economies and thriving local communities. Together, we can work and ensure a bountiful harvest for all. Thank you.